Thank you for attending Worldwide Slot Car Chat. I'm your host, Greg Gaub. Gang's all here. We got Paul and Ed is back, and John and Big Den, Petrucci, Don, Garth, Frank, John Kitt, Mike, Alan, and people. And we have a special treat today. Mr. Ed is going to show us his Happiness in Slot Cars, or Slot Cars and Happiness presentation. So we'll get to that shortly. Does anybody have any show and tell that they want to share before I do my quick little show and tell? What you got there, Paul? Oh, hold on. Let me spotlight that. There we go. Oh, is that your messy work area or your clean work area?
That's a 3D printer.
That's your printer. Oh, it's out of the box, but has not yet been used.
No. I told you, it's storage. Good. It's an expensive lump of storage.
Got to wipe the dust off it as well.
Special sliding shelf storage mechanism there.
What are you going to make with it first?
Yeah, there you go.
What am I going to make with it first? A mess.
You're going to join everybody that has one.
That's probably true. Yeah, the messes are not uncommon, especially at the beginning. So the first layer is everything. Spend all your time working on that perfect first layer and then print a thing. Anybody else got anything they want to share and show? Go ahead, John. You want to hit the unmute button?
Sorry about that. Yeah, actually, they're not in any sort of order, unfortunately, but I don't know if you saw my latest episode where I received this absolutely fantastic piece of scenery, which is, to say the least, breathtaking, but I just took a few quick shots and also put a few, I guess, well, I took some, oh, hang on, I'm still admitting people here.
Take care of the admitting. You go ahead and start your share.
Okay, sorry about that. So I took some figures out of my box and thought, okay, it's a good excuse to do a couple of figures. So I just did them quickly. And I put them on the actual piece. And my goodness, is that not incredible?
It's gorgeous.
Perfect.
Yeah, oh, here, I'll bring it back. This is the overview of the front. And this is all done by hand. This is all foam core. Each brick was, cut by hand, shaped by hand. Unbelievable work. I mean, flowers. And just to show the details, I don't know if you can see, but you actually put puddles at the downspouts.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
You've even got a plant in the bloody window.
Oh, wait, Paul, wait, there's more. So then I thought, okay, if there's a puddle, and see the puddle here at the downspout?
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, got to have a dog there going for the puddle.
Cock its leg. Get its cock its leg.
Yeah, or probably drink. Dogs will drink from anything. But that's what so I thought, do these figures just to see what they would look like. And it's absolutely, like, just look at the work. Plus it's bang on scale.
Did you do this?
No, the building, I did the figures, but the building was done by Frank Peter Vandegoor, who I really implore you to check out his website and his YouTube channel. He's an amazing modeler. I mean, to call him a modeler would be, that's not fair. He's an artist.
Nice.
And just look at the work on the downspouts and the eavesdrops. The eavesdrops he actually made out of soda cans. Unbelievable. And all those windows are done, from scratch by hand. He put leaves in the in the eavesdrops. It's unbelievable. And there's scale, and he made if you look close enough here, let me just zoom in. They're actually oak leaves. Like, take a look.
Yeah.
Blimey.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
So they're cut from what they made from?
I imagine paper. I'm afraid to actually touch one, to be honest, but I imagine it's some sort of paper, Paul. But if you take a look here, let me just move this around. Yeah, that's a bit too far, isn't it? Sorry. It's got to be some sort of paper. I mean, knowing him, he probably used like craft paper from like a paper bag and just cut them all by hand. Unbelievable.
So are these all one-offs, or is he producing these for sale? Or
he did this for us as a one-off because our track is an homage to Spa, and this is an actual building from the Stavelot corner as it looked in 1967.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and he made this Renault sign from scratch. I mean, you weathered it. And not only did weather the sign, if you look, it actually, he weathered the leaching.
Yeah. Who made the bales? What make are the bales?
He made them by hand. Frank Peter made these.
Wow.
Saw that video. It was amazing with you. I was just amazed at that. That is just so astonishing.
Oh, thank you, Dewan. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, and the size of it, it's, you know, it's massive. And he made it to the size of a Carrera, what do you call it? Apron. Yeah. So it'll fit on the track. It should fit no problem. But wait a minute.
On the Valvoline sign, is he weathered that as well?
Oh, wait, here, wait, there's more. See, there's the front, and then we're going to look at the windows. There's the Valvoline.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Wow.
Oh, I try to take as many pictures as I can, because this is, honestly, I've been staring at this for days.
Wow, look at that grass. Look at that, the rust.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a bush? Is that a wire bush?
Yeah, and these are fabricated.
Yeah, wire bush. From the same way as you do the how I built the tree.
Right. And look, he even put a bend in one of the bars of the windows.
The funny thing is that the dirt itself is impressive.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. But wait, I've got a shot of the inside of the garage. I wanted to show the water. Yeah, hopefully there you can really see.
Yeah. It's even got look at the moss behind the bloke going along where the wall joints.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh, and that's right. When you walk along the streets, you see grass growing out in those spots, right?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
I'm surprised the dog's not peeing on a hydrant.
Yeah, actually, I have a hydrant. I should put one around. That's hilarious. Yeah, there he is.
I don't think you'll find them in Reims.
So that, and again, I had to put figures on it just to see what. Now there it is lit up.
Oh wow!
Wow, amazing.
And wait, we'll get even better. So you can see he put a plant in the window and stuff. Sorry, I took these with a bit of a rush. Some of them are a little blurry. But I don't know if you can see, but there's right here, that is actually a hearth inside. There's a fireplace.
Is that furniture as well?
Yep.
Jesus. It's like going in and then in and in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, you know.
It's fractal.
There you go. It is, yeah. It's like it's incredible. It's
what's showing on the
curtains
TV?
on the inside.
What program's on the TV?
Monty Python.
Twilight Zone.
Although in 1967, it'd probably be black and white, right?
Yeah, it'd be black and white. That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Star Trek.
It'll be the world.
But even look at the attention to detail with the curtains, where you have a window that's open with the lights off and lights are on with the curtains, closed. Brilliant.
Man.
So what's the garage like?
Oh wait, yeah, we'll get to it. Sorry, I just wanted to show the old Baba there. Hang on, we'll get to there's the garage.
Oh wow.
So you can see how someone took an old advertising sign and used it for walls. And you can see the old shutters. It's exactly what you'd find in a garage.
Or in the shed, anyway.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Now, and the corrugated tin roof he made from, and he's very proud of this, from a packet of biscuits.
The corrugated cardboard.
Right. Yeah. But look at the weathering job. Look at this. Like the amount of work.
Just mental.
Well, and as you folks know who are modelers, it takes more work to make something look distressed than perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And he did the side as well. And
Does
this is the way
that run down onto the roof.
I beg pardon, sorry?
The down pipe running along the back. Does that go
right
down, down onto the roof or go round the back?
Hang on, let's take a look here. It goes down the back. Yeah. And apparently that's you know what I didn't save was the picture of the actual house, because that's the way it is.
That's mental.
Isn't that cool? Look at the way it lights up. Ugh. And of course, there's a bar in the basement window here.
Is that where he has the slot car track?
Probably.
Look good on
I hope
mine.
so.
I think you ought to send it over to England. That looked good on mine.
But yeah, just like look at this vista. I mean, at eye level, it's just, if I crop that, you'd think it was an actual building.
You know what you should put in there? A rusty old lawnmower leaning up against that sign.
He doesn't mow the lawn for days, for weeks.
Exactly, yeah.
Get Britain's
that-
one. You know the Britain's soldiers.
Yeah.
They do they've done a garden series, and you actually can get lawnmower, because I got one on my track. I got a lawnmower, a roller, and a wheelbarrow.
Oh, well, when I first saw photos of this, if we turn back, I was actually thinking of doing a barn find 356, but the garage is full. There's no room. But yeah, I can't get over this water thing. That's just like, wow.
Man.
And then the boarded up windows. And he also got, like the keystones in, right? Because over each arching window has a keystone. It's not flat, it's actually rounded.
I like those drain pipes.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
And the brackets. Look at the brackets on there.
Yeah, exactly. So we're back to where we were. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, and it goes up all the way up the wall, as it should. Anyway, that's isn't that? So I thought I'd share that off the top. I just it's amazing, and thanks for watching the episode. I honestly, this photography and the video that I did doesn't do it justice. It really doesn't.
Put a link, John, on his site.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, you know what? I'll send that to Greg, and he'll put it in the description if you don't mind, Greg, because.
Just put it in the chat, because I copy anything useful from the chat to put it.
Okay, perfect. I'll put it in the chat. Excellent. Well, thanks for watching, folks.
Yeah.
That's blinding.
Anybody want to try to follow that up?
Yeah,
Why not?
Here's a bit of paper I made earlier.
Paper, I have a paper airplane.
You make that out of paper, Paul? That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I 3D printed it.
So I have a simple show and tell, which is why I don't have my background on right now. I got a MR slot car, which I call Mr. Slot Car, because why in the world would you not call it Mr. Slot Car, even though we know it's Mozetti Racing? But I got the Porsche 911 Evo GT1 white kit. The Analog Club is going to be doing this as our next series. And of course, there's the wonderful, beautiful chassis. And this is straight out of the box. I haven't, nothing's loose. It's all nice and tight. I look forward to playing with this, and if Chris isn't on now, hopefully he shows up later, because I definitely want to get some some advice on that. When I placed my order for the car, I also ordered some spare lead wire and the tires, but the silicone O-rings and the grommets that he recommends for putting between the pod and whatnot. But they didn't come, and when I went back, they weren't on Alan's site anymore. So I guess he ran out at some point. So I'll have to figure that out. I think he still has the 1.5 millimeter ones. So we'll have to, maybe if anybody knows, because I ordered the 0.5 millimeter ones thinking, that would be enough. I could stack them. Is a 1.5 okay? Too thick? Is it, what you're shaking and nodding there, Dennis? What do you think as far as the thickness of the O-rings?
I think the 1.5s are too thick, and I think the 0.5s are good.
So I'll talk to Alan about that, and hopefully we can get some more. If they're just temporarily out of stock, then hopefully they go back in stock soon.
If you run into major trouble with that, drop me a line. I might have some lying around here somewhere.
Speaking of Dennis helping me out, and hopefully I don't steal Big Den's thunder, but after working with Travis and searching the internet, and Travis was all helping me like square away some of those Sunoco Pioneer Legends through Armchair Racer, but Dennis helped me find them on Electric Dreams, and I wish Alan carried Pioneer. I'd order them from Alan, but Oh well, so put in a pre-order for both of those Sunoco Legends through Electric Dreams, and looking
What's
forward
it like?
to those. What was that?
What ones are they?
Anybody got a picture handy? I'll bring them up if not, but they're basically two variations of Sunoco liveries on.
That's
Mr. Snowco here. I don't even know.
There's a blue and yellow one and a yellow and blue one. They're both Dodges, I think, the Dodge Legends cars.
I mean, I
I
can't.
don't know that there's a single actual Sunoco lettering on the car at all, but there might be. I don't remember now.
I thought there was.
Quick, find a picture. Find a picture. I've got to see what this
It's on the
looks like.
Electric Dreams website.
Maybe they didn't want to pay the licensing in North America, Dennis.
But Paul, if you go to YouTube, you'll find there's this channel called Worldwide Slot Car Chat. You'll find out all about it.
Videos. I mean,
It's been a little while, you know.
Somebody-
Greg, as I say, last week, a gentleman said he was having problems with his tire truer. Remember that?
yeah, and then
That's
on
me.
one of the forums, somebody said that they have the version 4, and it does have set screws on the top and bottom for that.
Oh, good. But then also somebody said they were having problems with their tire raiser. And I have one. And I said, yeah, I have the same problem. So I was going to show you what I did to try to get it closer.
Okay.
So let me... Um,
Um,
a fabulous circle back.
Yeah, there's the Pioneer. I was looking for it. It wasn't even,
Hey, cool.
Oh,
yeah, so then there's another one where the blue is yellow and the yellow is blue. I think it's number 14 or 16 or something like
Well,
that.
it does say Sunoco. You're right.
Yeah, I stand corrected. It says Sunoco on the
that is absolutely
You're-
pure porn.
You're sitting down, Dennis. That
All
is
right, I
nice.
sit corrected.
There you go.
I sit corrected.
Correct.
Sit up.
Frank, you want to show off what you did with your tire raiser?
As soon as I find, there it is. Okay, so there's the tire raiser. And what I did is I took a micrometer and set it there and pushed down. And that gave me a measurement on that side.
Sure.
So that is right now it says 22.36. Come to this one. And basically, oh boy, that's pretty good today. 22.36. So if this side, say, was too low, then I would take the set screw from underneath, which this one has, and loosen it. And that's how you, anyway, that's the way I figured out how to adjust the tire raiser.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it's designed to work. But for some reason, both of my screws, they either have Loctite on them or they've bound up from years of use without ever being adjusted. They don't want to turn. I didn't put a whole lot of force into it. So, I that's a point. If it bothers me so much that I don't want to, turn my axle to do the other wheel, then I'll try that. But it was one of the early ones, so he might have Loctited that before, realizing
Gotcha.
to be able to adjust
Yeah,
it.
that's one thing you mentioned about those being tight. I was able to get mine out, so I took the whole thing apart, clean out everything, and then put it back together so that those pins would be able to move up and down easily and smoothly.
Yeah, so that might be what I need to do is just break.
Hang on, if you move the pins up and down, why would that change the height of the alignment of the carriage?
Because each side has its own spring and its own screw, and the screw goes through the carriage to the top plate. So if you're tightening the screw a little bit, it's gonna have more or less pressure on that spring. It's gonna be pushing more or less.
Oh, okay.
That's how I understand it. Yeah, it looks like Frank is showing the gap between the shaft and the top plate. Yeah, let me spotlight that. Yeah, so you can see there's
how it works. So when you turn the screw clockwise, then it lowers this part here. Where am I? Get my big finger. It lowers this part, but if you go counterclockwise, then it raises this. So then it raises this.
I can see what you're saying, Frank, but surely you should be measuring the axle actually in, obviously we've got all set up to put a set of wheels on, whether you put the wheels on or not, it's up to you.
Yeah, I'd rather put an
Good
axle
point.
into the
Yeah,
carrier and measure off the axle.
bearing holders may be out of line slightly.
Right.
I'd be tempted to put the axle in its carrier and not off you with the rubber O-ring, and then measure the height of the axles at the ends where you're going to be doing the tires. That's what
That would probably be better. You're right. That would be better.
Yeah.
I have a bit of a silly question. So does that mean that you can then set up a car for stagger if you're doing ovals?
Yeah, probably.
Probably a little bit.
Yeah, they tend to offset the wheels, John. You know, slots are offset. So one wheel will stick out half a mil further than the outside tire will stick out half a mil further than what it should be. But
Yeah,
you could actually chamfer your tires if you wanted to, off your map. But why would
you could just do one tire at a time as well on the tire raiser or a hoodie or huddy, whatever you want to say, or the other ones, and just measure it with a micrometer.
Personally, I don't think that
area 51 or whatever it is, and mine's slightly out. So what I tend to do is true them up, and then just flip the axle as was suggested last week. Just turn the axle over 180 degrees, and then just finely skin the opposite wheel.
Yeah, that's right. And it's
another way.
On mine, it's such a minute amount that I'm not sure that I could even adjust it such that it's better. I might just make it worse. So,
exactly.
I usually just do one. I do them both, right? And if I notice that one is completely true, all the way around and all the way across, and the other one still has room to go, and it's, they're not hitting the same, then I'll just flip it around and
flip it over. Yeah. And that's an easier way than going through the trouble I did to clean everything and readjust it.
I was just going to say cleaning is important because even a speck of urethane dust between the plate and where the plate slides is going to raise the plate in odd places, and it's going to sand it up. And the sanding surface, the where the plate rides, the plate itself, the sandpaper stuck to the glue between the thing and the sandpaper, the grain of the sandpaper, all of those things are going to affect which one is, more or less. So, yeah, my next project is designing a 3D printable, plus a gear motor of some sort thing to move the plate automatically, so I'm not having to sit there moving it the whole time.
By the way, I have to say it's so cool that John is doing the impression of the neighbor from Home Improvement.
Hey, neighbor.
Yes.
Or you can turn
There he is.
Hey.
Is he back?
He's back.
What I want to know is what's the rest of Frank's shirt say?
Oh.
It says that's too many. Too many what?
Slot cars, no.
Said
right,
no one
yes,
ever.
Said no one ever. Well done. Yes. Yes.
I like it.
Eat your heart out, Jay Leno. We've got it in scale, man.
There you go.
Yeah. Anybody have anything else they want to share and show before Ed gets his presentation going?
Yeah, I've got some.
All right, go for it, Dennis.
Okay, let me share.
Hey, Dennis, have you noticed I'm not rocking?
I noticed. Thank you, Frank.
I had to get out of folding chair.
Frank, I legitimately almost did a spit take.
What the hell? Hang on.
Sorry,
I'm missing
Dennis,
something.
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying, but I'm not succeeding right now.
Sure.
Try once more. That's why. All right. Now let me try again. Where are we? Yeah. Share screen. There we go. And that is my attempt at the. Can you see it?
Whoever's whistling, stop whistling.
There it is.
That's my attempt at the SRC Toyota LMP from 2018.
That's nice. So is that all painted and masked? It does?
Yeah, I mean, apart from all the lettering, which is decals, but the rest is all masked and painted, yes.
Wow, those lines are really crisp. What did you use?
Just the 3M masking tape for delicate surfaces, that kind of violet color one, which works pretty well. I think there's another photograph there. Wrong way. Other way. There it is.
Is that the chrono one?
Excuse me?
Is that the chrono version?
This is the chrono version.
Yeah.
And because it's the chrono version, I had to use NSR wheel inserts. So the wheel inserts are not actually correct, but I put NSR wheels and wheels on front and rear because the fronts were these tiny little things that in the chrono version, tiny little plastic wheels on a 2mm axle. So I got a set of NSR 17mm 2mm wheels and put them on the front with the original tires. And at the rear, I've got the regular NSR 5004, which is the 17mm air system wheel with slotted 1172 N22s on.
Have you been able to run it yet?
I haven't yet. No, I've been too lazy to open my track up. So I haven't done so. But yeah, that's what I've done. It came out. I'm pretty happy. There's a bunch of decals missing on the original car in this area where my cursor is. Here, this flat area next to the cockpit on each side are about 25 different sponsor decals. And on the decal sheet, that whole grouping of decals is given one reference number. So I just cut out around the edges of that and try to put it down, only to find out that each one is an individual decal. And they are like 1 millimeter high by 2 millimeters long. And I looked at this lot and I said, you know what?
Never mind.
Never mind. This is just not going to happen. But other than that, the decals are actually pretty good. They are quite tough. They stick well. They conform well. So yeah, it's quite a nice job.
Did you have to put any sort of decal sealant or any sort of?
No, I haven't actually. That what you see is exactly how it worked.
Well, they look really good.
Yeah, they did look good. They came out very nicely.
Dennis, what did you use to get the shine on that paint? It looks really good.
Well, it's just the paint, actually. Believe it or not.
Really?
Right now, there's no coating at all. The white is the original plastic of the body. The dark color, which is not black, I used a gunmetal, a Tamiya gunmetal, because I wanted it to look more carbon than pure black. And the red is just a Tamiya racing red, but again, wrong way. The red, well, both the red and the gunmetal are actually the Tamiya PS, the polycarbonate colors. They're the ones that are supposed to be sprayed on the inside of clear bodies.
Lexan, yeah.
Yeah, and the reason that I use them is because they don't have a very high gloss when you're done. They're just slightly off of pure glossy colors, and to me, they look more realistic that way.
So do you plan on clear coating it at all, Dennis?
I'll think about it. I probably will. I'll probably put a coat of the clear pledge future stuff that I normally use. Yeah.
PS50. Google it. Look it up. Tamiya PS50.
Is what?
You know that color I've been looking for the Honka.
Oh yeah.
As close as I can find it.
You found it. Okay. Yeah, it's a kind of a light purple color, or
it's called glitter pink or something.
Well, just test it against the wall you've got back there, Paul.
Shut it.
Yeah,
See how it
yeah.
fares.
That wall behind you would be just about the right color. Anyway, so that's what I got. I guess you guys did see the HO cars that I was building, right? Did I show you those ones?
Yeah. So are those with the bodies on?
Yeah, those are the bodies on now.
Wow.
And those were all clear bodies, and I painted them all on the inside. I found a
Hold
couple.
on. You could paint a visor on an HO scale driver, but you're having trouble with tiny decals?
Yeah.
Good point. Good point, John.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. Anyway, so that was what he got.
Cop out.
He's very happy. Oh, and this is the stuff that went off to John. That's something else that's going on. I had a photo of this with the top open as well. This is a project that John and Frank and I are working on right now. This particular resin
I'm
casting.
so excited.
This resin casting is a Chaparral 2G that was cast and sent to me some years back by John Dilworth in the UK. A lot of you guys might know his name. He's basically a retro racer when he races slot cars. But his greater claim to fame, of course, is the fact that he is a world-renowned, and I can't remember the correct name for him, but he's a world-renowned violin and viola builder and restorer. If you happen to have a Stradivari violin, you might take, and it needed some work on it, you would take
So
it to someone like John.
I think they're called luthiers actually still.
Luthier, yeah, that's the word. Luthier.
He also builds.
I have the old Bill knocking on the door.
Yeah, I have a personal luthier, but I don't want to brag.
Yeah. He's a really, really nice guy. He makes a lot of vacuum form bodies now as well. A lot of the UK retro racers use his vacuum form bodies. And at one stage, he was doing a lot of these little resin things. Anyway, so I've had this one sitting for a while and haven't had a chance to build it yet. So I've sent it off to John, and we're going to, hopefully John's going to make us a mold.
Yeah, no problem. I hope you don't mind me, because I didn't realize it was a slush cast, so I may have to improve the interior of the.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, let's go for it. Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay. And then
Great.
I thought I'd sent you these photos.
You sent me the other one, just the top view, actually.
Yeah, which is. Can you do me a favor and send it back to me, because I've lost it somewhere?
No problem. I'm happy to.
The nice part about what John did on this one was the uprights for the wings, where he cast them with this little piece of 032 wire inside them, so that and then the wing itself has a slotted cast in it, so that you can just turn those pieces of wire sideways, glue them in there, and then mount that through the body. So it's probably
when I saw that, sorry to interrupt. When I saw that, Dennis, I thought you wanted to try and make the wing functional.
No, we can. I mean, if you wanted to, but I don't think so.
No, probably not.
No, it's too, John. It's too much in terms of all the actual mechanisms. Making the wing flip itself is easy. All the mechanism to actuate that is something different.
Well, the two basic ones are you either use the motor sort of jerking around a little bit with a loose motor, or you use some sort of piece of inertial ball or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the story.
Was that Frank?
Sorry,
Frank was going to say something about the moving wing, right, Frank?
Not the moving wing, but I wanted to show the reason why I asked to get a 2G built. And this is the reason.
That's the only one you don't have.
Just about.
Yeah. We've got to do something about that red 2H though.
I know. But
that was Strombecker. I mean, they made it the wrong color and too wide.
Yeah,
exactly.
Too narrow.
Too narrow? No.
No, it's tiny narrow, that thing.
Oh, the real car is very, very narrow.
Yes, I know, but even so, I mean,
you could do this with it.
Oh, there you go.
That's it. That's the one. Yeah.
And it was Dennis put this one together for me, and I
Yeah,
painted
that
it
was
up.
I think the slotted Alfa Romeo T33
Yes.
chassis that went under there.
Yep.
We just had to use really narrow tires at the back.
Yeah, and this thing runs really great, although the wing is really bizarre. It goes back and forth from the ball that rolls.
Right.
There's a little ball in the box underneath that
Yeah.
number 7 at the back there. There's a little steel ball that rolls around, and that actuates the wing.
You know,
But it
Ed,
runs really great.
well, Ed, your car for sure runs better than the real thing did.
That's for sure.
Rumor has it.
But how did Cox do theirs? They had a chaparral with an actuating wing.
Yeah,
they had
used
two.
the tilt of the motor. They used the motor.
Yeah, the magnesium one was a sidewinder, and it had a little clip that clipped into the top of the motor and a wire that went up to the wing. And the isofulcrum one was an inline, and that had two pieces of plastic molding on the back end of the motor that activated the wire.
And Dennis, Monograms 2D had a sort of similar mechanism as well.
Monograms 2D had a little linkage on the left-hand side at the rear with a little weight at the bottom.
Right.
And so as you accelerated, the weight went backwards and flattened the wing, and as you brake, the weight fell forwards. But the weight as they molded it wasn't heavy enough. So if you want it to work, you just have to wrap it with some solder or put a nut or something.
Yeah, I've already recast. Sure, for the Monogram, I've already recast that arm because I had some requests for it, and that's what you have to do. You basically have to make that part heavy, and it does work.
It works great. Yeah, that's probably the best one of all of them.
And that's what I was thinking for your 2G. But okay, you want a static wing? Fine.
Well, we can think about it later.
Anybody else got anything they want to show and tell, or asks previous show and tellers?
Yeah, I have something, Greg. I have something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was looking at the earlier presentations, with this beautiful scenery, and thinking, I don't race on tracks with nice scenery. In fact, most of the tracks I race on have no scenery. When I do go to tracks with scenery, it's distracting. No, I'm there to race. What the hell's going on? A bunch of us did an event at the weekend, a 6-hour endurance event, and the only little piece of scenery on that event is it's called the Rock Bull Ring, and it's a homage to the Red Bull Ring in Styria. And there is a little an arch with a little bull underneath it, but apart from that, there's nothing on this. So 6-hour enduro, I think there were 7 or 8 teams there. Sorry, what's that, John?
I said it's a brisker track. They don't do scenery.
No scenery. We don't do scenery very much.
That's about it, as you saw.
That's about it. So to sort of lay the basics down for the people who don't know what disco racing is, it's distance racing, and it's team events. So 2 or 3 people in a team, and it's between 6 and 24 hours. The most endurance racing are 24 hours long. Oh, loving that, John. That's the one. Yeah.
That's really nice.
Wayne's posted that.
Oh, Wayne. Well done, Wayne. Well done.
There is a little light. See the Rockingham sign at the front. There's a little light embedded in there, and you can just see the orange cord coming out of. Well, looks like Bucket Bully,
Yeah. So that is all the scenery. That is all the scenery there is on this track. It's a huge track, set on top of a Brusca wood track, and it's in at the Rockingham Club. And there's no other scenery. It's quite brutal racing. Now it's digital racing, Disca, which Greg, you would know from the Oxygen. So it's running on Oxygen and teams. So team racing. Qualifying on practice on Saturday, qualifying Sunday morning.
How long is that track, Alan?
Too long. That's the truth. Too long. It's too long.
I think Graham's fastest lap was a very low 13. I think a few of us did 13-13s, I think 13-12, I think it was. I think I did a 13-20.
Well, look at the bright side. They don't make you wear platform shoes when you race there, right? So that's a good thing.
You gotta stand on a platform though, don't you?
Yeah,
I thought no, I sorry, I was thinking about the disco. That was me. Sorry.
Disco.
Yeah, we get it. Nice one.
Yeah, it's all good. Anyway, so several teams turned up, and we had our Team Gas Monkeys. That's me and Graham Eldridge and Mark Long, and we really wanted to make a proper full-on, full-throttle weekend of it. So we did practice, and then we went back to the hotel and got absolutely blind drunk on anything we could find. And I think I looked rough and Graham looked rough, but Mark looked as though he wished he was dead by Sunday morning. Because, you know, it's not just about the racing, it's about, you know, the weekend. So we had it. Now, the way the Gas Monkey team works is not everybody runs their team this way. In fact, I don't think anybody else runs their team this way. We all have the opportunity to prep a car. We all turn up on the day and we test the cars. And as a team, we decide who has built the best car. And that's nearly always Graham Eldridge, because he's an amazing car builder. But this time it was me, and the car I built was better and happier to go around the track. So this is the monster, and this is what's left of. This is what's left of our car after 6 hours. You know, and if I really kind of show you how much damage there is.
Jeez.
No.
Yeah, that is, obviously, I read your blog, well, speed read it earlier on.
We were on the verge of failure in every respect.
That's the before picture.
Alan, could you imagine what it would look like if you were sober?
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to say it. No, John, we were sober. We were just hungover.
Sorry, you're right. That's a technical correction. You're absolutely right.
Technical difference. But even, you know, if you think the body is damaged, you can see the front of the chassis. Wow. The splitter is destroyed. Yeah. Everything about this car was right on the verge of failure. And, you know, but we could have got there. Now, you guys have seen these shims that Mark Long created to centralize the MX-16. That worked really well. Everything about the car worked really well, but there is no way we could have run this for anything more than 6 or 7 hours. It was just it was flying apart at the seals. It really was. But it was a good weekend. We kept our eye on John's team, Exiles. That was the team we were really looking at for pace. But as it turned out, another kind of dark car, Demon from Wales, they had a kind of dark grey Corvette, which quite low lit. And we didn't pay attention to that initially, and we had to pay a lot of attention to it in the later stages. So, you know, important. But prepping the car for distance, oh, look, yeah, there we go. Second qualifier. Those guys, they were chasing us and chasing us. It was sort of difficult. But 6 hours of concentration, an hour turnaround each way, with a storming hangover. And the thing that I took from that was the Italian way of organizing a team. One of the things British people, maybe Americans, and certainly Germans do is quite rigid team organizations. It's like, you do an hour, you do an hour, you do an hour, and they don't modify that. They don't adapt to the situation. Whereas Italians, they dance to the music. And, you know, whatever's going on, they look at it and go, okay, we'll change the plan. What's a plan? Let's just do this. And they just change it. And towards the end, we were all suffering quite hard, but we got a small lead and we needed to lean on it. And we realized that in the last 20 minutes of each stint, we were not able to perform. So we swapped round. So we started swapping around ad hoc as it was. And that really worked. So as an event, I loved it. This is the first Disca event I've been to where the track worked 100%, didn't fail. The lap counting worked all the way through. The race did not have to be stopped in the middle because of technical issues. and it ran for 6 hours. So, you know, to Nick Kurzweil and his team, this is a huge commendation, you know. So if you want to know the details of what went on, sorry, John.
I noticed with it, I actually thought it was a very clean race. You know, there wasn't many. I don't think anyone went up and issued a penalty for anything. But I think the overall standard of racing, I know there was only 8 of us going round, and ideally, you know, you want a bit more traffic ideally, even though it's off a big track. You could do with a bit more competition on the track. But as I say, the overall conduct of people's racing, I thought was excellent. You know, I think virtually everyone's done some form of physical racing. There was no newbie, but you know, and the overall conduct on the day with everyone was quite good as well, which is always good to see. You know, oh, the other thing, what I was going to mention, hardly any pit work. We had a slightly longer pit stop than we wanted. What I normally do is sit another set of tyres on another set of wheels, matching wheels. Obviously, we've got spaces in. So what I normally do is sometimes it's a bit of a stretch to get the tyres on. So I just take the wheel off, pop one on, pull that wrench out, undo the other wheel. If there's someone there, get them to reseat the other wheel. Both grub screws failed, so I had to walk over to the pit box, a different wrench to undo the bloody wheels. But Sport Cars Inc.'s had a few issues, which lost them about 5 minutes, I think. And then Demon Slot had a bit of an issue with, I believe it was a twisted braid, and I think they'd run for about an hour and a half with a twisted braid. You know, it just wasn't performing. And then, you know, after a changeover, they probably had a quick look at it. The braid's twisted, so they put it back on, and after that, as you probably noticed in the last hour,
yeah,
the Demon Slot certainly improved, because they just caught us because we were running second for ages.
Yeah.
Then they overtook us, and that's the reason why I went up and did the last half hour. You can chime in a minute. Is to basically make sure that Wayne didn't beat me.
Yeah, well, it's a different approach, right? And this time we took the approach of saying, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. We did some testing on the Saturday.
Especially at Henley, you know, it happened a few years ago. Obviously, Keith Fisher was in the racing. He doesn't really like racing in the dark. So I did the transition from day to light, and then came back on at about 2 o'clock. And after I meant to be doing 2 to 3. And Matt came up, so I changed out. I said, Matt, I'm flying. He said, yeah, I know you are. I said, I'll stay up for another hour if you want, or half an hour, an hour. I said, yeah, we'll stay up. So what we tend to do is, if a driver's lapping everything, and say, are you fine to stay up for another half an hour? Yeah, we'll stay up there for another half hour then. You know, as you said, work to the team's strength.
Yeah.
I remember a few years ago, on the Sunday, it's probably about, I think I was back on about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And I did about 20 minutes. And I got Keith up again, because obviously Keith had slept. I was struggling. Yeah. You know, I was doing 15 odd second laps. Keith came up and he was straight back into the 14.
That's right. And, you know, that's something as a team. That's something as a team we've learned, that you can't be rigid about your changeovers. But the approach to say, we're not going to do any maintenance unless we have to, worked well for us. On Saturday, the car transitioned from the N18s to the F22s seamlessly. It was almost like we couldn't tell the difference. So then we decided we're going to take those F22s, we're going to put them on at the start of the race, and we're going to run them until they tear off the rims. And actually, if you really look at, if you can see that, there is nothing left of these tires.
No, as I say,
there is nothing. I mean, it's like they're like rubber bands. There's nothing left of these tires. So we took the approach to say, we're not going to clean it. Now, I watched other teams diligently cleaning their braids. I haven't cleaned anything about this car. This is how it came off after 6 hours. I installed the braids. Graham prepped the braids. That's why they're slightly separated. And it all sort of worked. Now, there is something that would have caused us problems. Let me see if I can even see that. In here, can't really quite see it. There's an aperture for the LED emitter. It's right under the front axle. Yeah. You can't see it, but that is really caked up with debris from tires. And that would have caused us a problem if it had to go any further. But the lane change sort of held together. And if you can see it from the top, here we go. You see very small red and black wires go into the LED emitter just below there. Now, one of the things we've figured out, and this is by testing, is that the LED emitter only fires up when you hit the lane change. We are, because I always thought it was lit all the time, but it's not. I mean, it's absolutely not. It only fires up when you hit the lane change.
By admitting the beam, or else every time we went over a lane change, it'd be open, wouldn't it, if it was on?
Yeah, but it doesn't. But the other thing that is surprising, because we were using cameras to figure out what was going on with the LED, because we have no digital tracks in Hertfordshire where we are, not ones that we can get to. The other was to say, well, is it true that the onboard LED is working when you put an external LED on? And the testing we've done sort of shows that if you hook up an external LED, the onboard chip LED emitter shuts down. Now, it makes no sense that that's how it is, but it appears that that's how it is. So if anybody can, show me some video evidence or camera evidence that shows both of those LEDs lit up, I'm welcome to see it. Now, happy to see it, but I don't think that's really what's happening.
So it's an infrared thing anyway, so you'll need an infrared camera.
A phone camera will show it.
It will.
All right.
And the phone camera appears to show that when you hook up an external LED emitter, the onboard chip LED emitter shuts down, which is not what I expected.
At the same time.
Not what...
I'm sure Richo told us that they both work.
Well, I've been told that too, but the camera seems to show that that's not what's happening. Now, I may have a couple of defective chips where the onboard emitter doesn't work,
that won't be
and we're depending on the external emitter. But that's what it shows. Now, the external emitter we used, we pushed into a tube because we suffered with, in previous races, tire debris getting into the LED emitter. You're really not going to be able to see this. But honestly, the amount of debris on the inside of the wheel arches there is beyond belief. There's nothing good about getting that kind of rubbish into your car. And if you allow a gap under your car so that that debris can get underneath the LED emitter, then you're really going to suffer with lane changes in an endurance event. And if you're depending on the onboard chip emitter, there is no way to seal that easily when you're mounting it on top of a pod. So you're going to get junk getting underneath it. In previous events, we've suffered with that, but this seemed to have got on top of that. So
Alan, in total, how many laps did you complete?
1,500 laps, and we won by 19 laps over Demon, and a very short gap again to XRs, which is John Underwood's team. 1% advantage, and that's not down to the car. I mean, the car just kept going. That's down to me having some good teammates as drivers. And the crux of, I think the real crux of this is if you're going to do endurance racing of any kind, and you're going to get some teammates, and you're going to go out for a weekend, the only thing that really matters is you've got two good teammates who you see eye to eye with, you enjoy their company, and you can discuss things and you can make decisions as a team and just get on with it.
And they can handle their
and
alcohol.
The drink. Don't forget the drink.
Come to Belgium.
I was just going to say, as long as they can handle their booze.
Well, see, some teams may not be drinkers. That wouldn't fit with us. Every team has to find their own way.
I'll be on your team.
There's some coffee there. I'll be happy.
Well, I think that's a good segue because you guys obviously had a good time, and Ed is ready to give us a great presentation on slot cars and happiness. So take it away, Ed.
Yeah, let me mention first, this will be about 20 minutes with me talking kind of quickly. So for those of you that have seen it before, maybe Frank or Dennis, feel free to split. I'll tell you, this is a project that I did for the National Popular Culture Conference. I have kind of a strange degree that's in, let me share here. There we go. So I have kind of a strange degree in popular culture that I did in the late 80s. And at that time, I did presentations at these conferences in Japanese detective fiction and Japanese music coffee houses. But since I got back into slot car racing, I've done about 5 presentations on different aspects of slot car racing, usually on vehicle panels. And this time I decided to jump over to a panel about happiness, where the other presentations were about other things like wellness and dieting and movies, happiness in movies. And I decided to focus on happiness and slot cars. So welcome to this, and I'll try to race through it. Let's see, is it moving through yet? Or there we go. Okay, so there's a world inside the world that you see. So July 15th, 2018, everyone was standing around the track. Looks like we might get a new record. He's got 259 laps with 30 seconds to go. Will he get it? More and more voices joined in. 261, 262, he's tied it. There was a unanimous chant as I continued. 263, 264, 265. He set a new record, 265 laps. And this was happiness. So my slot car background is, I raced like many of you at 6 years as a teen, took a good long break, 35 years, and about 14 years ago, I got back into racing. And I currently race with 3 groups, 3 different types of slot cars, both 32nd scale and 24 scale, and on my own home track with no scenery, you notice, that's King Mini Bua Raceway. And I've raced also in the UK and in Japan and the East Coast. I do a lot of racing when I can. And for the presentation, what I did is I sent out a questionnaire that I put together on Google, and I had 75 respondents. They were all over the US and beyond. Most people were active racers who are in their 60s that raced in the 60s. And I asked 10 basic questions about their relationship to happiness and slot car racing. And it was really mostly, I provided some canned answers, and then I wanted really them to just get comfortable with sharing more information on their happiness. You can see the types of slot cars the respondents raced were all over the map, from wing, flexi, 32nd scale, ready to run, scale, and ISRA and USRA, 124th hard body, etc. And when I asked these questions, like what about slot car racing brings you happiness, I provided some set answers like racing and competing, building and assembling, collecting, winning. And the blue bar shows the answer, yes, almost always. And you can see that everybody really across the board had this feeling of these. But the most important stuff was, I think, racing, hanging out with friends and improving as a driver, but everything was rated pretty highly. When I asked to describe what positive emotions they had involved with slot car racing, there was a rich display of these kinds of answers like contentment and thrill and enjoyment, and settling anxiety and improvement, ecstasy, a lot of words like that. I spent a lot of time in Japan, so I'm always looking for connections between it. And this was a picture I took when I was in Japan, but they have a word called ikigai, which combines the life plus worth. And it's just anything that brings you some real deep joy. It's family, an interest, a hobby, sense of purpose, that kind of thing. Happiness comes, of course, in many different flavors. You're sharing a passion with your friends. It's a perfect retirement hobby. There's pride in making a car better. And a lot of people said it just makes them feel young. Speaking of that, here's 2 racers that some of you might know. That's Jonathan Forsyth on the left and Alex Freund on the right, racing together when they were little tykes. They're still racing today. Jonathan does ISRA racing and Alex does racing on the East Coast with Retro East. But
Yeah,
he's
although
based,
he lives out here, right?
he's based in Southern California,
Yeah,
where he
and Jonathan is world champion, was an Israel world champion a couple of times.
Yeah, absolutely. So the main thing that everybody spoke of, which I'm sure all of you can relate to, it's this feeling of camaraderie. It's a mutual friendship based on spending time together, but it's also a shared knowledge that we all can speak the same language when we're talking about gear ratios or center of gravity or tire hardness. So we kind of have a good feeling in this shared knowledge, and it's a shared language and culture. Get on here. Ivan Illich came up with this concept of vernacular values, where he said words and patterns grown on the speaker's own ground, as opposed to what is grown elsewhere and then transported. And there are words back in the 60s that some of you might recognize, like sano or noose or jet or punch it. And these are words that we used back then and kind of spread around the slot car world, and people still use them to this day in some locations. Nicknames, very popular among lots of people, but in slot car racing, there was John the Jet Sucres and Hector Gonzo Gonzalez. These two guys in the suits in the top picture was from back in the 60s, Sandy Gross and Howie Ursiner, who were known as the Gold Dust Twins. Joe Noose Newmeister, who paints beautiful bodies. Some people call me Fast Eddie Shore, but I want to point out that anybody named Eddie is always called Fast Eddie, whether or not you are or are not fast. So these unique names kind of make the individuals feel special, gives you this feeling of a cohesive group, like you're part of something. This was from Model Racing Journal in 1970 about shared shenanigans. Somebody had put Loctite into the motor of one of the people, Jerry Brady, who had qualified for the A main just before the A main. And it was reported in this journal, but nobody ever said anything about it. And in the course of doing research for this, Howie Ursiner told me, you know, it was Pete Van Aarons, who was known as the bad boy, and Jerry Brady was kind of an asshole. So it was bound to happen. And it wasn't really revealed who it was until I was finding out this information. So these kind of shared shenanigans are part of our old oral traditions that we continue to share when we go to the raceway. There's accomplishment in family. Ed Soul, who goes by Ed Soul, great nickname. He builds all his own cars, races a lot in Retro East. And, you know, when I asked what was the thing that brings you the most joy, he said racing and traveling with his son, Jonathan, when his son was a very high competitive racer. That was priceless to him. Jim Lang is a head of high tech that builds these beautiful chassis there on the picture. And he said that racing back in the day, it took its toll on him to the extent that he had to go through a divorce because he was spending so much time with it. And now back with a new supportive wife, he's back racing, building chassis that are respected around the world. And he's also racing pretty highly, qualifying for A mains and winning on occasion. That's him in the middle picture there. Howie Ursiner, many of you know, considered the best driver by many of the pros. He was the first person with a contract as a kid. He won 2 real cars, 1-to-1 cars, when he was a teenager before he was even old enough to drive. He's won trip to Le Mans, quite an amazing driver. And he talked about being in the zone. He says, I'm totally focused. Everything else fades away when he's racing. Somebody else had a feeling of being invincible. And another person said, I even forget to eat sometimes when I get going. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. Picture of John Gorski qualifying. He very much gets in the zone when he's racing. Some people call it flow. It's called flow, a slot car racing, guitar playing, coding computer programs. When I'm in flow, it's amazing. Somebody else said they lose days scratch building. I can quickly fall into a state of zen, a sense of manic tranquility, defining the duality of existence. That was a mouthful from Rick Moore.
Yeah, but if you know him, you'd understand it. It's just so typical of him.
Good to hear that. Yeah. So there's this some person that's considered like the father of positive psychology, whose name is Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And he made this statement about the best moments in our lives are not the passive, receptive, relaxing times. The best moments usually occur if a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. And I think we can relate to that both as racers and as builders. This is something that's really important. And he came up with these things that he called flow and gratitude. So in the blue, just think about your own slot car racing. The task is challenging, there's concentration, there are clear goals, immediate feedback, deep, effortless involvement, sense of control, sense of self vanishes, and time stops. So all of these components. Another racer said he really enjoys the motor skills, the hand and eye coordination. He said, I know of no other hobby that will challenge your hand-eye coordination and motor skill set on a daily basis, like slot car racing, where you can't get hurt. And this was from Clyde Romero, who is a former fighter and commercial airline pilot, motorcycle racer, and currently owns a slot car raceway, I think in Georgia. When you feel physically on top of your game, you are happy. And I think that's something that I think for me, I really do feel that slot car racing does help with my hand-eye coordination, at least in my mind. Lasting impression. There's one person wrote about that when he was young, his father sent him off to watch these older guys racing slot cars in a club. And he was really touched. He said he saw by what grown-ups can be through their example, that they helped him see what his awful father was not in the real world. And he saw it as a way to really look forward to raising his own son. And I thought that was really a tender moment of honesty that was shared. Sometimes we kind of celebrate or memorialize these racers that meant a lot to us. John Sucres was one. When he passed away, there was a real outpouring of memories and people talking about him being their childhood hero. In Slot Blog, there were like 3 pages of lots and lots of comments about John. And his passing brought a lot of us together as we shared that. Other achievements, you probably know about James May building that 3-mile-long track. Recently, there was a Guinness World Book of Records broke in 24 hours. They turned the most amount of laps, and they also measured what it would take to do on a king track the distance of going to the moon in 24 scale, and they did that over a 15-day period. Brad Freezer has the world's record on a king track in 1.286 seconds. And this is what it looked like. I don't know how many of you have seen this or not, but if you haven't seen it in a while, it's always kind of interesting to see a world record being done. Keep your eye on the car as he zooms around. And the reaction, you can see there's a lot of happiness as he broke the world record. A lot of congratulations. Online participation during COVID brought a lot of us together as we are here today. There's a Facebook group called Slot Racing Old School Club that's got over 6,000 members where people share different things weekly. This group where we're on today, there's proxy racing. Somebody saw a car online, wanted to build it to the specs in Buena Park. I volunteered to race it. He sent it to me. I kept it for about 6 months and won quite a few races with it. That was built by Pablo Walcott, and we connected through Slot Blog. On bringatrailer.com, there was a track for sale where people watched the online bidding go up to $65,000, and lots of sharing in the chat about the memories of slot car racing. A lot of the people watching Bring a Trailer were not currently slot car racing, but they were sharing their old fond memories, and I was able to share, hey, it's still alive, it's still going, just got to look for it. Slot Car Dreams, I had mentioned this at this site before. Philip de L'Espinay wrote this book, and I was really looking forward to it for many years. And when it finally was announced it was for sale, I got online. I was the first one to order it, first one to go and pick it up, and he signed it for me, and I was invited to do a review for it, which is online on the Electric Dreams website. This was about some distraught superheroes, a series on television. And this severely injured superhero spent 6 years recovering in his man cave where he was racing slot cars. That helped him. If you watch Doom Patrol, you'll find out about that. Let me go on to the next one here. slot car raceways are kind of a third place. They're like a home away from home. It's not home, it's not work, and it's kind of a third place. And people have their slot car boxes that are kind of like altars. It's their happiness, their happy place. It's an antidote for depression. It's a boost for one's well-being. Slot cars are back. I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but I counted there were 23 new raceways opened in 2020, and this is during the pandemic. A few of them, maybe about 5 of those 23 actually were raceways that existed, but they put in brand new tracks. So it's still not quite the 3,500 that existed in the US in the 60s, but still 23 new raceways is a good thing. And here are those 23 that either put in new tracks or open. So acknowledgements, I wanted to thank the 75 racers that answered my questionnaire, Slot Far Out Club that I raced with, the SCRA who I raced with, BC3 Hardbody, and a few other people. All of you who are taking all of this in. And I wanted to show proof of the evolution of slot car racers. If you see what we end up with, we will all be born with controllers in our hands eventually. If anybody wants a paper of the actual paper, which is, I don't know how many pages here. Oh, it's like 27 page paper. Email me and I'll send you a copy of the paper. Thank you for tuning in.
Wonderful.
Very cool.
Thanks, Ed.
Great presentation, Danny.
Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
That should be in schools.
So this, as I said, this was the 5th one. I did one when I got back to racing in 2008 at this conference has about 2,500 participants over all subjects involved with popular culture, not slot car racing. But the first one I did was talking about how many racers were getting back into racing again after a 35, 40-year break. So some of the people I race with now, like Brian Warmacker, Tori Anderson, were racing with me when I was a kid, back when I was 16 years old. So that was the first one, comparing the old days and the more recent. Then I did one on builders, at which Dennis participated in. I did one on collectors, and I did one on comparing commercial raceways with home club racing. And now this happiness one.
Well, Ed, did you ever explore the aspect of just how there's a wonderful ancillary emotional aspect, but there's also a STEM aspect? I mean, the physics, electronics, and like Sandy, I believe, had a speaker company, did he not?
Yes. Yeah, three speaker companies that were quite successful. Yeah,
a little more than quite, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm a retired middle school teacher here in Los Angeles, so I certainly spent a lot of time with thinking about how to bring it into the classroom. Just never had enough support at the school I was at to really pull it off. I still think it would be a great way if somebody could get the support of administration to bring it in. They do it apparently in Eastern Europe. It's part of the curriculum. Because as many of you know, I mean, I ditched school a lot when I was a middle school and high school student to race slot cars. That's where I learned about gear ratios. I learned a lot of math through that and through electronics and all of that stuff. So absolutely, you're right, John.
Inspired me to become an engineer.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, a lot of racers
Hold
did.
on, Devon. No, you were a rocket scientist.
I mean, if you want, I could probably draw a line between me and my sons getting into slot cars and my older son becoming more interested in automobiles and him becoming a mechanical engineer and working for SpaceX. There's all those things kind of followed suit. Robotics at high school, robotics was a big part of that, obviously, but it's entirely possible that he would have taken an entirely different trajectory if we hadn't gotten into slot cars and had so much fun, playing with slot cars.
I always used to say that everything that they ever tried to teach me in engineering school, I already knew from racing slot cars.
There you go.
But that's not to underestimate. That is not to underestimate how niche what we do is. And within this niche, this slot car thing we do, there are little corners where we're even more niche than that. And if you try to talk to normal people, You know, somebody who's serving in a bar says, "What? We had this on Saturday night when we're at a bar because, you know, it's, the hotel's upstairs, we're down in a bar." And one of the bar staff said, "So what, are you guys in a band or something? What do you do? Do you do Dungeons and Dragons, or what do you do?" We said, "No, it's way more weird than that." So, "What do you do? Rubik's cubes, or what do you do?" And Graham tried to explain it, and she simply didn't understand anything he said. Anything. Didn't understand it at all. Because what we do is a very, very peculiar part of the world. I mean, not just of racing, it's a very, very peculiar part of the entirety of humanity. So few people understand what this is about or why. You know, what I loved about the presentation was it encapsulated the retro cool. You know, the retro cool. All the good things about slot car racing are like good music is good music forever. You liked something back then, you know. I have favorite bands. Good music is always good music, and good times are always good times. And slot car racing is always slot car racing. I love it, you know. But that's not to underestimate how niche it is. It really is.
Well, it may be niche, but to use your music analogy, I mean, my daughter loves Led Zeppelin the way I do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there are some things that transcend generations.
My granddaughter's into the 80s. Absolutely loves the 80s music, and but put a slot car in front of her and she absolutely nails it now. She's getting very, very, and she's only 5, and she doesn't break them anymore because I've got a button on the controller that's about that big, so when the handle comes back it stops. It can't go no faster than that.
Well, the funniest thing is that, you know, I've talked about Alan Smith, and most of you guys know who Alan Smith is, but there are few racers that can beat Alan Smith on his own tracks, you know, at scale racing. His daughter is one of those people, and she is so good. I mean, she's a full grown adult woman now, but she is so good. It's like she's not even watching her car go around. She's just standing there, nonchalant, relaxed. Her hand is just kind of resting on the rail of the rostrum, and just kind of, the car is just rocketing around the track and never crashing. And it's like, okay, you know, I want her on my team.
Well, Greg,
that's
you know,
what I think about these.
Sorry, the thing about that is that you really have to, the top drivers do not get excited. When I was racing 12th scale RC cars, circuit cars, my knees would shake, my hands would shake. I was doing this with a controller. You watch the top drivers, it's like it's just a day at the office. They are not stressed. They are not excited.
You're right, Alan, and real racing is exactly the same way. If you're nervous in the car, do something else.
Mm-hmm.
That's like Dave Harvey. I raced against in the 60s and 70s. I raced against, especially the late 70s and 80s. I raced against Dave Harvey in that, and Dave Harvey it was a world champion over here. And you watch him go, and he would just get into the zone, and then all of a sudden you'd be going, bloody hell, it's gone past me again and again and again. And you're on 10 out of 10 on your thing, but him, he's just gone.
That's how I feel racing against Eddie and Dennis.
I remember racing one day
I'm just worried my daughter's going to beat me.
Don't be worried.
If she does that, I'm just going to hit the stop button on the side.
No, you should. That's a sense of pride. Have you seen the way my daughter solders? I mean, my goodness, she solders better than I do. So
Yeah.
couldn't be.
I'm not. No, 5-year-old beating me on my own track. The kill button's going all the time.
Give her a couple more years and be proud of her. That's all.
Yeah. So long as she doesn't go in. I would say my son, bless his heart, he is a really good slot car driver, but Xbox, computers, that's just taken over. And now he just come out and go, yeah, all right, Dad, I've beaten you once. I don't have to prove myself.
But Paul, I think you'll agree what Ed really touched on, at least for anything you do, whether it's hockey, really driving a real race car or slot car racing, there is a flow state that you get into that is really quite something. Like I remember the first time it happened to me in a real racing car, and all of a sudden I was looking so far down the track I didn't realize there was a tailpipe in front of me. Because you just get in this zone.
Yeah. Paul, I reckon your daughter will probably be 3D printing before you are.
Oh, don't you start as well. I was waiting. I'll see you sitting on the side there, and I thought he's going to say something. He is definitely going to say something.
I've been saving up some of my best work.
Yeah, I know. Hey, look, I printed something. It's even got writing on it this time.
Hey, Big Dan, well done. Timing is everything, man.
Oh, God. I hate you, love.
Good callback. Anybody else have anything they want to talk about? Dewan, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, I got an 8-year-old very interested in the whole concept of slot car. She didn't know anything about it. She's just visiting over the weekend, and it was really. I mean, every moment she got, she was over at the slot car track, just turning it on and just playing with. And she went through about 50 cars and just mesmerized by the whole concept. I said, "This is 55-year-old track that you're running on." I said, "You should see some of the newer stuff." And so it was nice to see that it was still an eye opener for someone, in today's age.
Yeah, sure.
Well, to your point, Dewan, because it is, as Alan said, niche to say the least. When someone does discover it, oh my gosh, and there is this feeling of uniqueness and it being special to you, and no one else knows about it. And there's nothing like sharing, things that you enjoy with other people.
Yeah, she had to try all 4 lanes with all the different cars and try. It was just amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I have a couple of topics on my topic list. I'll go ahead and pull one of those out. So there was an interesting post on one of the Facebook groups where somebody posted a picture of an older, I think it might have been an older slot car that they wanted, but it went really high on the auctions on eBay, like $200 or $300, which is relatively high. Obviously, there's more expensive slot cars on eBay, but he posted this, with the screenshot and how much it sold for and everything. And he's like, "What in the world is going on? Why, how is this worth that much? And why don't obviously there's a lot of money in it, so why don't manufacturers make more of this car?" And it's like, clearly you don't understand collecting and what collecting is, because even if a manufacturer made that exact same car in every single way, same box, same chassis, same body, same everything, same paint, go back 50 years and get lead paint for the thing, a collector would not want that one that was produced in 2021. They would want the one that was produced in 1965 or whatever, whenever the car was produced. But then it's a whole nother topic of, well, just because this one from 40, 50 years ago is selling for $200 doesn't mean there's more than half a dozen people in the world that want that particular car as a slot car anyways, so. But that what I wanted to kind of talk about was, who collects, who doesn't collect, what are your opinions on collecting versus racing? I am definitely not a collector. I have a lot of cars, but I'm a no shelf queens kind of guy. If I buy a car, it's coming straight out of the box and going right on the track. I'm not going to buy a $200 thing from the 40s or from the 50s or 60s or whenever and leave it on the shelf. If I did buy that car, I would happily increase the value of every other one of those cars on the market by taking it out of the box and putting it in and not care about it, because I would only buy it if I wanted it so bad to pay that much and put it on the track.
Greg, you are definitely part of the James May approach. James May on a TV program went into an auction for buying model railway trains, and there was this almost priceless model railway train, but he had the money. He said, "I want it." he got it, and you could see people are looking at him like, I hate you, you're putting this money on this. The first thing he did was take it out to the foyer, unboxed it, I said, have you got someone who can throw this box? Throw the box away, right? That was how it is. There's a separation between collectors and racers. I'm a racer. I don't know anything about collecting. I don't understand what collecting's about. But that's me. I'm sure everybody else has a different opinion.
I must admit, on the Sunacos, I've started buying 2.
So your love for them has gotten to the point where you want to race them, but you also want a pretty one to leave on the shelf.
Well, no, they're not on the shelf. They're sort of like hidden behind the 3D printer. But but yeah, they are still in their box. I haven't touched them. Yeah. And the dearest one, I must admit, the dearest one I've spent so far is that Spirit, or that Sprite Ferrari. And yes, I did pay over £100 for
that. I'll admit to having a couple duplicates. Like I accidentally ordered a second Pioneer General Lee, so I have a General Lee in its case still in the shrink wrap because I took the other one out, and I have a second of the Scalextric Audi R8 Bilstein livery because mine got smashed up. I raced it so much, and a friend was selling his, so I bought his. So those are what I have 2 of, but pretty much, not on purpose, not planned, I'll probably end up taking that Audi out at some point just because I don't want to race my busted up one anymore, but I want to race that particular car. Does anybody here actually pay silly money for cars? Frank, you got a pretty impressive collection.
I always buy 2 cars.
Oh, Petrucci always buys 2 cars.
I've got an habit of buying everything in 2s. When I buy tools, I buy 2 tools because when I'm a contractor and I've had people working for me and they say, "Oh, I got nothing to can't use it. I've got nothing to use." So I started buying two sets of tools. So the guy's not sitting about while I'm working and he's watching me. And I've got the habit is gone over to slot cars. When I buy slot cars, I buy 2. So if one breaks, I've got a spare one.
Yeah.
I used to buy 2 or 3, but never buy 2 the same. Like for instance, I probably have 5 fly chevrons, but not one of them is. There's no duplicate liveries.
Right. I make more than one sometimes.
Yeah. I wouldn't call myself a collector, but what I did do when I came back into slot car racing about 15 years back was to recollect the stuff that I had when I was a kid, so that I have all the monogram cars, and I took that a little bit further, and collected a lot of the stuff that I used to lust after when I was a kid, that I couldn't afford in those days, or that were already obsoleted by modern stuff back when I was a kid, because back then we were just racers, right? And so if I had pocket money to spend on slot cars, I wasn't going to go buy an Atlas Ford GT or an Atlas Brabham BT3 when I could spend that same money on a rewound motor and put it in a scratchable chassis and race it. But now, different story. I have the ability to do that. So I've managed to pick up all of those sort of cars that I lusted after in those days.
And you have a bit of a controller collection.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of strange. That developed kind of weirdly. I'm not quite sure why it developed like that, but yeah. Eddie's seen my controller collection. It's in the somewhere around 40, I think I have now.
Well, Dennis, again, to go back to what Ed was talking about in his presentation, I mean, there is a warm blanket effect with this.
Yeah.
I've gone back to my childhood.
I mean, when you think about it, you can buy new things or buy stuff and you're happy with it, but only for a short time, and then you need to buy something new. So in the long run, that's not the real warm feeling. what I've
And well, the other aspect that I still marvel at is when you get a body from the 60s, regardless of its condition, these things were created essentially by hand. Like someone went and made those tools. There was no CAD. There was no. It was an artisan who did these.
Sure, and when you look at the quality of what Cox and Monogram and Revell were making, and Resin in Japan and others, at the quality of what they were making for bodies, particularly back in the 60s, those things were fantastic.
And seriously engineered for what they were.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that they all got wrong was like the Monogram ones, where the drivers were all like this, like sitting in a puddle of oil up to their armpits, you know, with half a steering wheel. Never did see a driver ever drive that way, but all the Monogram
I'll send you pictures of me. It's okay.
Dewan,
I kind of fell into that same trap. You know, I'm just cruising eBay, and all of a sudden I'll see an old nostalgic set that I had, or you know, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and get that. And just kind of, even though it's a little bit frayed and old and things like that, I'm just gonna get that and I'm gonna kind of scoop it up. So I went and bought some old Eldon cars. I bought some old. I've got tons of track collections. I think I have probably about 12 different Revell sets in the boxes and everything, you know. So I don't know why. I'm just and it's not. They're not going to be trophy, just sitting up there, just showcasing. I just kind of, and I know at some stage I'm probably going to get rid of all this stuff, but just wanted to kind of have it just for a minute and then do something with it. I don't know. But,
so you guys are so lucky, because the Cox, the Monogram, and that only a little bit come over into this country. Most of it stayed in the States.
Mm-hmm.
We got the GT40s, the Ferraris, and the Chaparrals, but that was it. That was it. You didn't get any of the lovely big Yank tanks that they did over there.
Yank tanks.
Yank tanks. You never heard that phrase before.
Have you never heard that?
Yeah, but I thought it was referring to Normandy. Sorry.
No, the Fairlanes and the Galaxies. They're all. It's like the Thunderbird. I see it today going down the motorway. Yank tank. That's what we call them.
Over here we call them land yachts.
Actually, in the day they were called subcompacts.
Frank, you were showing off your collection, but we kind of ignored what you were trying to show us. You're still muted, so be sure to unmute your mic.
That might help. What I wanted to say is that I am a racer and collector. All my race cars, though, are specific classes because of the people I race with. So I buy those cars within that class. It's kind of silly. Like we have a Le Mans class on Dinko 50s cars with Far Out Race Club. I have maybe 40 or 50 in the collection of the different models, but like in that are not even of those cars. Race cars, I have 7. And I look at it sometimes and go, why? Because I can only race one at a time. But I did, I just like collecting the different liveries, the different cars. Or like recently I've been looking at full sets of cars, like the Monogram Can-Am cars. There's 4 liveries. So it took me several months to finally get all 4 liveries. So I could have paid $200 for one, but I said, no. I won't do that. I'll wait for one that's a reasonable cost, and eventually I got all 4 of them. And that, to me, that's the fun of it. I'm into Scalextrics. I have many Scalextrics F1 cars. The AMG, let me say it right, Mercedes AMG TT3, there's like 10 or 11 liveries. I've got 9 of them now. And now I'm getting down to the ones that are very expensive because they're rare, but I'm just not ready to pay $200 just to have it in my collection. Yeah. But I enjoy both, because as you saw my collection, I've enjoyed rounding up the cases that I use and buying those and getting them on the walls and then cleaning them and putting them up. All of them have been on the track for a couple of laps at least. I have 1 or 2 maybe that I've never taken out of the case, but I just enjoy both.
Frank,
I want to point out
where
I want
did
to
you
point
get
out a
your
difference.
signs from?
Pardon?
Your sign. It says slot car. Is it slot car raceway above the top of your cabinet? Is that a
Yes,
metal
it
one?
does. I've seen it on eBay. Yeah.
You spend
And
more
a lot of the other signs that aren't
signs.
a lot of the other signs that are around the room aren't necessarily slot car related, but my grandchildren and my kids have decorated my track room for me.
So I want to point out a difference. Can I point out a difference between Frank's collection and my collection as far as we both race in the Far Out Slot Car Club. I have maybe 5. We mentioned Ninko Classic 50s Roadsters. I have maybe 5 that are running, 2 that I would race in a race, but I must have about 30 that are in pieces, that are in bags that I consider my backup to reach into when I need wheels if something breaks or something like that. So some people are really good at keeping their stuff together, like Frank, and some people are not good at keeping them together, like me. But I am concerned with having at least 2 good cars that I can race on race day. That's so I don't collect other than to accumulate so that I can do well in my races.
Yeah, you know, it warms
What
my
I'm
heart
showing that
whenever I hear of collectors and they collect these beautiful cars. It warms my heart because I mean, here's my 2 monograms.
Right.
This is a Shelby Cobra and a Jaguar Streamliner, and all of the guts of these cars have been ripped out, thrown away. They have 3D chassis, inline. I brutalize these cars. These cars are my Goodwood Green cars for London Slot Car. And the number of times in lots of my cars where people have said, oh, you really shouldn't be racing that. That's like number 273 of 500 cars. No, that's what I like to race. Give me one of those. Exactly. And I will absolutely brutalize it around the track. And the thing is, what collectors don't seem to understand is I can wreck these. And one of you guys will sell me a replacement when I need it.
That's why I'm collecting 2 of everything. The hardest thing I'm finding to get is the Fly Ferrari. You know, is it the
F40?
The Cuda Luna? Is it the big one?
The long tail. The long tail.
Cuda Lunga. Yeah.
Yeah. That in this country is stupid, man. That's even dearer than the Sprite.
Well, Paul, this is why when I meet folks our age and they talk about all the toys they had and they took Hot Wheels and played with them, the sandbox and their Matchbox cars and this, that, I hug them and say thank you because you made mine so much more valuable.
Yeah. Well, I'll go through and replace. If you ever look at the pictures on my track, there's shelving. And I've got all my Thunderbird stuff when I was a kid. I recollected all that. I've got all my Dinky toys, all my Corgi toys and everything. Because when I turned 16, my mum and dad took it all away and gave it away. And I lost it all. And I thought, I've got to get it all back. So I've been buying it and replacing it.
Yep. I think nostalgia is a pretty strong thing for collectors of pretty much all kinds. I mean, I still collect Transformer toys because, had them when I was a kid. Fortunately, my parents didn't throw them away on me, and collecting them, and a lot of a lot of the cars that I buy are nostalgic to me because of the blue and yellow thing, connection to my first bike as a kid, or look like a Transformer, character car and stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely, Corgis and Hot Wheels and Thunderbirds and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know.
As millionaires, you'd probably be collecting real cars.
I don't know. The thing is that if I, at least on a slot car track, I can try to drive 2 cars at once. Try that with a real one.
This is lay between them.
But John, who wins?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Frank, a little schizophrenia goes a long way.
I tried driving 2 cars on the track, but the right-hand one was beating the left. So
Well, now we're getting political. This isn't good.
Top Gear done that. 2 cars at the same time. They took one on top of the other.
You know, the thing about collecting, I like to say this, when Carroll Shelby and his crew created the full-size thing of this to race Le Mans, I think only one car remained in the USA.
Well, no, there was only one car that was actually totally built in the USA. That was the very first one. The others, the bodies were done in Italy.
Yeah.
And then there was the famous Shelby garage sale or fire sale, where the very first car was sold for, I think it was something like $5,000 or $6,000, less than $5,000 or $6,000. Right. To what's his name? Rusket, Jim Russell. And then he actually, when Rusket was starting to decline, he found a buyer for the car for $12,000, and it was Phil Spector, and he thought he was in the chips. Yeah. Spector drove the car around Los Angeles, got so many speeding tickets. His lawyer said, "Get rid of the car, you're going to end up in jail." Boy, talk about foreshadowing. So Spector gave the car to his gardener. His gardener then took the car. He and his wife split up. She, out of spite, took the car and hid it. And it was finally found when she passed away of her own hand. And she left the pink slip with the keys to the car and the storage facility to her neighbor that she befriended. The neighbor basically then took the car. The family fought them in court basically to say, "No, this is our car." So the judge was amazing in California. Basically what he said was, "Look, you're going to be doing this for like years. I understand you have a buyer in Dr. Simeone who wants to buy it. Let's tell you what, just take the money, split it down the middle." And I think rumor was he paid close to $6 million for the car.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely and totally original.
But the truth about race cars is they are race cars.
Yeah.
They only become collectible way after the fact.
And they have to have some provenance. Like, Alan, if you're really smart, don't touch that car that you just won with.
John, I didn't clean it yet, but that's not because I'm thinking it's going to be collectible.
But think of this. Well, listen, what you have is a piece of your own personal history, and it will only be that way once.
Speaking of
I don't know about you, but before they put me in the crematorium, man, they're putting a racing helmet on top for me. I mean, that's going to happen.
You had your car on top of a trophy there for a little while. Was that from the race?
Yeah, was that the trophy?
Yeah. Hold
on.
Well,
show it off. Let's see it.
Yeah, let's show it.
This is the Cheap Seats trophy. This is it. This is the number one. John Underwood will have the number 3, and the Demon guys will have the number 2. And there weren't that many teams there. So
okay, look, I raced real cars for 20 years. All I got was a frickin' frame, for crying out loud.
A win is a win. Even if you were the only team, it's still a win.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So when are you gonna race? Did you get in it?
For me, it wasn't about just the being at the track. It was the whole weekend. We've been locked down in this COVID nonsense for 18 months, and the 3 of us, this is only the second time all 3 of us have managed to get together and race. And we said, we are making a weekend of it, and we went at it like a battalion. The whole week.
You won yours. You won yours legitimately. I had to make mine, and they're not even full size.
It's all good. It's all good.
And his daughter's done a knockoff. It's even better.
Alan, what I want to know is whose Sharpie markings are those on the bottom end of that trophy? Is it
mine? Mine, okay. Because the trophy
you have so many that you don't remember where they came from.
No, I don't remember. No, and I don't remember. And this is the thing. At the end of 2019, 2 of us went to Rockingham because we couldn't raise the whole team because Mark was working. He's a busy kind of guy. And 2 of us went to Rockingham, and that's always a difficult proposition because you have to have somebody who's on marshal, you have to have somebody who's driving, And then you need somebody running around doing the tech. But two of us did it. And because we used Graham's car, that was the Chuppa Chup Merc that he'd built. And it was a great car. And because the way we organize the team is the guy that we choose their car, if it's your car that's best, you say how the team's going to be run this day, and you keep the trophy. And his trophy was big as a bucket. So I feel a bit cheated.
So, Alan, you don't collect cars, but it appears you collect trophies.
I have three.
That's a start.
Alan,
buddy, that's still more than me.
Left.
That's still more than me.
Turn to your left.
What's up, John?
If you turn to your left, there's a cabinet with a load of CDs in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a collection, mate.
Yeah.
The record
Good one, Paul. Good
No.
one, Paul.
I use those in my car. They are not shelf queens.
How many amps?
They are not shelf queens.
How many amps? How many guitars? How many pedals?
Look at that.
My 6-hour car I built. Now the red Surtees Lola I done for the Can-Am race we've got coming up, and the Honka. My teammate come down. He's on holiday down here at the moment from Newcastle, and he done a test run on the track last week, and he put it into the barrier where my granddaughter put my Nissan into the barrier, and now I'm rebuilding it. And that's supposed to race. So he said, yeah, it runs all right. It's just stopping.
It did run all right.
Well, yeah, it did. I've got more bits out off of that now than I've just given up off of Solid. It's just going as now.
On the collection thing, John, Mr. Underwood, you know you can get CDs now. You can't even give them to a charity shop. They don't want them anymore.
Yeah.
So you can rate CDs for 50 pence, less than $1, right? And we use them down at London Slot Car because while we're setting up the track, we like some good music. And so it's always good, you know, grab a handful of CDs. And that's the thing, you know, because we're a low-tech kind of club. It's, you know, retro cool. We don't want modern stuff. We want retro cool.
Alan, we use CDs to prop the track up at East Devon.
The thing is, keep them, give them to Hayden, isn't it, your lad? And then get him to give them to his children, and they'd probably be worth as well more than what you pay for them.
Yeah, well, never mind. That's probably the next retro thing. Besides, you can always use them as coasters, right? I mean, you know.
Mobiles.
I don't foresee CDs doing a vinyl revival. I just don't foresee CD. I don't see any technical reason that CD should suddenly be a thing that YouTube watchers and I would want. I just don't see how. I mean, most of the younger generation don't have a media player. They don't have any way to do. I've had my daughter's friends walk in here and they don't understand what these things are. I mean, they don't understand what is this? What for? You know?
Yeah, but
I don't see them be.
If you really want to confuse them, hand them a rotary phone.
Yeah.
No,
or an 8-track cassette.
A Sony Walkman. Just give them a Sony Walkman and tell them to put a cassette in it.
A what? A what?
Better yet, give them an 8-track.
Sound like the sound.
8-track is the best media format ever.
Yeah.
God.
Betamax video.
I went in my car, you used to fire the thing out behind you. You used to push the eject button and you used to go, duck!
Paul, that was called Lear's Revenge.
Greg, look where this topic's gone.
Oh yeah, we were way off talking. I don't have any other topics, but it looks like Go ahead.
I guess something. Is Wayne Lander? Is Wayne? Wayne, are you there? Are there in Internet Land? Is your camera on? Are you around?
I think he was here.
He's here. He's just blocking himself because.
Right. Alan was
There
Oh,
he
there
is.
he is. Okay.
It's horizontal.
He's setting fire to another axle.
Dear me.
So what was your question for Wayne?
No, it's not really a question. It's a kind of an apology because during the event, Wayne was asking me for help, and he was like, "Nika, can you help me with this?" And they were a two-man team, and they needed someone to like Marshall. He needed someone to help with the tech of the car, and I don't quite think that he understood just how focused I was being with the guys. It's like I don't want to offend you, Wayne, but I need to be on my game here because this is close. John Underwood's team and Team Demon, they are on us. I can't be spending time talking to you. I can't be. Please stop it. And I've got the feeling I was quite abrupt with him. So, hey, if you watch the rerun, Wayne, I'm sorry, mate, but that's what went on, okay?
Well, hold on, Alan. Wayne doesn't seem like a talkative chap to me.
He's too busy with his lighter.
He's right there, by the way.
Greg would disagree with that.
And I'm pretty sure he understood the situation.
Never ask Alan.
Your mic ain't working, Wayne.
Never ask
Greg,
Alan.
I got something on the collection thing.
Okay, hit that real quick.
The way I collect is I get cars that I really love from when I was young. Not so much the toys, but the real cars. And that's my focus on there. And also from an engineering standpoint, the different kinds of chassis and setups so that I can check to see why it does what it does and how it works. And I race every one of them. So.
Yeah. So you're interested in you buy cars because you want to see the engineering involved and you want to put them on the track and they strike a nostalgic nerve for you, but you don't buy something just to have it in a collection of stuff. It serves both collection purposes to hit your nostalgia, but also its own purpose as a racing model and goes on the track.
Well, and to your point, Michael, and I'm sure Dennis and Paul and everybody who has vintage, like a vintage Cox Cheetah, like stock, putting around a modern track, they drive really very well.
Yeah, they do actually, as long as you've got decent tires on them. So
Yeah.
some Ortman urethanes or something on the back, and then they actually run really great.
I think Dewan was going to say something. Weren't you, Dewan?
I was going to ask. I know that several 3D printed. I want to call them elevators to put your cars on to kind of keep the tires off and to rest. I'm looking for some sorts of those.
Oh, I mean, there's a variety you can find on Thingiverse to be printed. I offer my 3D printing services. I'm sure anybody with a 3D printer would be happy to do it.
Although, Dewan, in the interim, you know what I use is, the extruded sort of styrofoam insulation that you put on cold water or hot water pipes?
Yeah.
Yeah, just slice them and put on right in the middle of the car. It does a great job for, until you get something perhaps more sophisticated. But I use those all the time for the cars that I build, and it does a great job.
We have trays.
Pretty much anything that'll prop up the back tires, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because
I have a much cheaper solution that I use. I flip the car on its side, and that's it. They sit in boxes. I don't. I mean, if it's not adding to the speed of the car, then I'm not spending time on it.
Yeah, I would do that, but my drawers are just not tall enough for most cars to be on their side.
Right,
so
get rid of that cupboard, change it.
Yeah, but Alan, you may scratch it though, Alan.
Yeah. And then it's not worth as much.
Mine's sit in takeaway boxes. The old our Chinese takeaways are like little plastic containers. I just put mine on the roof in that.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. You're making our cars so much more valuable. Thank you.
Because you asked a specific question about that. I mean, obviously, there's lots of ways to do it. There's get some double stick, insulation foam and whatnot, or
Go, guys.
I also do 3D printed ones. So if you want 3D printed, specialty things, PM me or something later, and we'll.
Alan, at a boot sale near you.
There you go. Stack them. Don't worry about it. Lie them on their side. Put them in the corner of your floor. Okay.
And then he just drops the whole bin here. Plop.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Loosen the axle,
Greg. Loosen the
Wilson,
axle.
you know that.
Don't worry about the
That's
tires
an
sticking
anarchist.
to the roofs.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we got about 5 minutes left. Does anybody else have anything they want to circle back on, add to, ask about before we turn off the recording?
How's the Porsche coming on, John?
Oh, actually, I actually got a little bit done. I just didn't have a chance to shoot some pictures. I'll have more done for next week, but I took out the back part of the Skelectric one. So we've got the fenders on their own, and now it's time to graft them onto the Revell / Matchbox 935 and proceed with building. But I also want to do an episode of this as well. By the way, you don't mind cross-pollinating, Greg, this with my channel that nobody watches?
I watched it.
I couldn't find it, John. I couldn't find your channel. That's all. I was looking at Resin casting. I couldn't find your channel.
Yeah, it's funny. I only have about like 700 and some odd subscribers, but they are bloody loyal.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. Down. I am.
Put your link in the description.
Try and open the box up.
John, put your link in the description, and I'll make sure it's in the chat, and I'll make sure it's in the video description when I upload it.
Cool.
Are you doing a channel on how to do 3D print as well?
Okay, can I borrow yours?
Yeah. Brand new, never used.
Brand new.
Careful owner.
There's plenty of 3D printing channels out there, and I'm sure there's a guy who dedicates all his videos to the exact printer you have. I really wanted to get some YouTube help on that. There's no shortage of 3D printing YouTube help out there.
Is that you then, by any chance, Greg?
Nope.
Oh,
Nope. I've got a couple of 3D printing related videos, but I don't do like help videos. I'll be happy to give you some suggestions of YouTubers to look up, but pretty much if you just type 3D printing, you'll find them all. 3D printing, lots of good stuff out there. Well, we're down to our last couple of minutes. Does anybody have anything else, or should I go ahead and hit the stop button and let you guys just chit chat? All right, seeing none, we're going to say goodbye. And did I hear somebody?
Kill it. No, just kill it, right? We're done.
Really good.
Oh!